Archaeologists excavating a 27,000-year-old coffin in western China discovered a 45-year-old man buried with a weathered wooden harp and a set of horse bridles. They also found nearly 2 pounds of cannabis, which had remained green for 27 centuries in the dry ground. The man was a shaman, and his community packed the plant as a final gift to ensure he was supplied for his journey to the other side. This relationship with the plant began roughly 12,000 years ago in East Asia. As humans first developed agriculture, cannabis became one of the very first crops they chose to domesticate. For these early farmers, the plant served as a multi-purpose resource. They harvested it for strong rope, wove the fibers into clothing, consumed the seeds for food, and used the oils as medicine. It was a foundational tool for building early civilization. Humans have a biological affinity for this plant due to a naturally produced molecule called anandamide. It fits into a specific brain receptor site to regulate mood and pain. Cannabis produces a chemical with the exact same molecular shape, utilizing these pre-existing neural pathways. This creates a strange contradiction. If our biology is wired to interact with this plant, and our ancestors spent thousands of years relying on it, we have to ask why it is currently treated as a lethal threat. Throughout history, the plant's use was nearly universal. Around 500 BC in Central Asia, Scythian warriors would gather inside small tents and toss cannabis onto red-hot stones, breathing in the smoke together during funeral rites. In India, the plant became a sacred element of religious worship. The Hindu god Lord Shiva is celebrated as the Lord of Bhang, a cannabis-based drink that has been consumed for nearly 3,000 years during holy festivals. In the Congo, a tribe that discovered the plant reorganized their entire society around it. They called themselves the Sons of Hemp and used the word moyo to mean both the plant and life itself, viewing them as inseparable. By 200 AD, a Chinese physician named Hua Tuo was mixing cannabis with wine to anesthetize patients for surgery. He was successfully performing pain-free operations over 1,700 years before the development of modern anesthesia. This utility drove the age of exploration. The industrial-strength fiber provided the miles of rigging and sails necessary to hold a ship together. Global commerce literally ran on hemp. Even in the American colonies, the crop was considered so vital that the Virginia Assembly eventually passed a law making it mandatory for farmers to grow it. For thousands of years, across every inhabited continent, humans recognized cannabis as an essential tool for survival, medicine, and social cohesion. The global consensus changed in the 1930s, when Harry Anslinger became head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. Anslinger used his position to link the plant to minority groups, specifically Black Americans and immigrants, claiming it caused them to forget their place in society. He began calling the plant marijuana to make it sound foreign, and focused his enforcement on cultural figures like Billie Holiday. He used drug laws as a pretext to target people whose music and activism made the political establishment uncomfortable. In 1970, President Richard Nixon officially placed cannabis on Schedule 1. This legally categorized the plant as one of the most dangerous substances on Earth, alongside heroin. Years later, Nixon's domestic policy advisor, John Ehrlichman, admitted the administration knew they couldn't make it illegal to be Black or against the Vietnam War. Instead, they tied marijuana to those groups to give the government a reason to arrest their leaders and disrupt their communities. Cannabis prohibition was a political strategy. It was a tool deployed to criminalize specific populations, rather than a policy based on scientific evidence or public health. The government's own experts eventually challenged this classification. In 1988, DEA Judge Francis Young spent 2 years reviewing the medical data and concluded that cannabis did not meet the criteria for a Schedule I drug. The DEA leadership ignored their own judge's findings. They rejected his recommendation to move the plant off the most restrictive list, choosing to maintain the ban despite the evidence. This modern legal status remains a bureaucratic fiction. It is a policy upheld by political inertia rather than biological or historical facts. Looking at a timeline of human history reveals the true scale of this shift. Humans have integrated this plant into their lives for 12,000 years. The period of illegal prohibition covers only 90 years, less than 1% of our shared history. That ancient shaman in the desert didn't have a political agenda or a drug schedule. He kept the plant because it worked, and the people who buried him made sure he would never run out. Today's shift toward legalization is a return to that historical norm. Societies are simply reclaiming a resource that humans have relied on for the vast majority of our time on this planet.